The same start every episode, the sweet, sweet sound. I open a cold beer, but today's special because we have Chef Tamara Stanger from Cotton and Copper doing a live pie demo. Hi, Chef. How are you?
I'm good. Totally
Awesome.
Ready for this.
Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is not going to be.
Your opening music is cracking beers.
What's that?
That's your opening music is cracking a beer.
Oh, yeah. Always cracking a beer. Have to. Ren House, keep it local today. Drinking it together. I've been on a kick. So, and you're drinking some monstrous beer over there.
It's a stout that's aged in rum barrels.
For anyone who's familiar, she's definitely drinking modern times modem tones, and it is awesome. So, Chef, we just started. Bobby Bricks, you're with us. He's going to be making pie. Most of this show is going to be this lady right here. So I won't take up too much of your time. But Bobby, I do want you to talk real quick about how this idea came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just one of those things where we did the Eat for a Week program that we talked a couple episodes back about, and just felt really great. We got a week's worth of groceries for about 500 bartenders, servers, all industry people, and it was just kind of a brainstorm idea of how do we give back and how do we help a little bit more. And so one thing we want to do is feature, amazing chefs who somehow have a lot of time on their hands now. And actually was reached out to a friend, Mike Wyman, kind of kickstarted the idea in my head and wanted the USPG to be involved and kind of make it bigger than just our members, give back to the community in some type of way. So we decided to fund 50 bags of ingredients so people can essentially cook something at home. But we wanted it to be more, and we wanted to essentially make a live interaction with some of these great chefs and do something absolutely amazing. And I couldn't think of anybody better than Chef Tammy.
Great way to kick it off. Great way to kick it off. And thank you so much for being the first one to do this. And we're excited. I know my co-hosts who are hanging out backstage watching are super excited. We got people already in here watching and commenting. They're excited.
Hi, everybody.
So I'm going to go ahead and just, Bobby, you'll be in the background making pie. We'll cut to you every once in a while. But Chef, I'm going to give this thing to you. Cheers. I am not going to be making pie. I'm just going to try and produce this show. But hopefully everyone can hear and see you just fine. And this is super exciting, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Chef Tamara Stanger of Cotton and Copper.
All right, so a few lucky people got some bags with some ingredients. And if you did not, we posted an ingredient list. So we're going to be making pie dough and pie filling, and then we're going to talk about rolling that out. And if you have any questions, because I know that's actually the hardest part, I'm happy to answer it. So we have our pie dough right here. It came in this little container. It's a 1.25 cups of AP flour. That's an all-purpose, and you can use wheat. You can use heritage grain too if you want. It has a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar. You don't have to add sugar. It's dessert, so I add sugar. Anyway, we're going to take that. It's already mixed together, and we're going to put that in a bowl. So around a medium-sized bowl works best. We're just going to pour that in. You don't have to have a big mixing spoon. You can use your hands, but I have one anyway right here. So the tricky part is going to be the butter. With a lot of pie, people use pie cutters, and it gets, I don't know, I don't like the consistency of grainy flour. If you have slabs of butter in it, it's flakier. The way it evaporates in the fats, it just tastes a lot better. So you should have got about 1 pound of butter in your bag. We're not going to use a whole pound of butter for this. We're going to use about 10 tablespoons. So there are 16 tablespoons in 1 pound. So I'm just going to peel that away. And then, let's see, you're going to cut it about a little less than 3/4. Just go ahead and cut that, and you're going to reserve the rest of this butter. And that's going to go on the top of your pan. So anyway, now that we have this right here, I'm going to try to show you so you can see it. I want to cut really thin slabs of butter off here. So I'm going to take my knife, make sure you curl your fingers. I don't want any blood in your pie. And you're just going to cut thin pieces of butter off of this and just throw it into your flour. Make sure, give it a little stir so it cooks with flour. It's really important to keep it from sticking together. So just go ahead and cut through the whole thing. If they're thick, that's fine, because we're gonna break it up with our hands here in a moment. So I'm gonna go through, and that one's a little thick. We're gonna break it. The heat from your hands works really, really well for making nice, beautiful slabs. So when it gets kind of thin, so you don't cut yourself, you can turn it to the side and just go ahead and cut the rest of it. And all that goes into the bowl. See that? And then I'm gonna kind of mix that together. This next part is probably the most important for making pie. We don't have our pastry cutter. We're gonna use our hands. So the idea is to take all this and use your fingers and push it so it becomes like really, really thin slabs of butter. And what that's going to do, it's going to be kind of like a puff pastry, and it's going to sit in your dough, and it's going to make it just really flaky and tender. So you're going to do this. It's only going to take about a minute. Just kind of press it all together with your thumbs and your forefinger. And you're going to do this till it's pretty much broken up. And then we're going to add our water. So pretty easy. You can like just move it through all your hands too. It's really relaxing too if you just like things that are calming and all that good stuff. Can you see all that? So I'm breaking it up. I only have a few big pieces in there now. So just continue to do that till it's mostly broken up. And you'll know because as you're like sifting through it, you can feel chunks. So it's okay to have chunks in there. Chunks are good as long as they're big, not big fat chunks. All right, so now that that's mostly broken up, and it's okay to see big old things of butter in your dough too, we're gonna add some water. So this takes 2.5 tablespoons of water. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, as long as it's purified. So let's see.
So Chef, as you're adding water in my cup. As you're adding water, I want to point out a couple of things that I saw in the cuts real quick. There were some fun ones, and we can talk about more of them later, but you said you're adding water. Someone said they added a 1/4 cup of mezcal to himself to make sure he was well macerated. So there you go.
And so a lot of pie crust, people do add stuff like vodka, just because of the way it evaporates, so it doesn't stick in the dough. So we're only adding a tiny bit of water into this dough to make it combine. So this dough is mostly butter. If you're using a different kind of pie crust with less butter in it, and to keep it so it will bind together without all that extra water, you normally would use vodka. And oh yeah, mezcal would be good, but don't waste it on your dough. Put it in your mouth.
So sip the mezcal, work with water.
Yeah, save it, add water. But there's so many different things you can use in pie crust. Like if you're trying to make a vegan pie right now, you can use margarine, or you could add coconut oil to it, and it works just as good. Probably insanely delicious. So you don't have to use butter in this whatsoever. Like you can use any kind of flour, you can use any kind of butter. You can use lard, like a traditional pie crust is with flaked lard, and it's lard that sits around the kidney of an animal. So it's pretty cool, like super traditional pies. So I'm gonna add the water, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sprinkle it around. So I'm gonna do 2.5 tablespoons. Add that in, and then I'm just going to fluff down so it no stirring, just fluffing. And then I'm going to push it down and fold and push until it makes a ball of dough. So you don't want to overmix it, but you're just pushing all the butter and the water together to create dough. So this won't take very long. All right. So I'm ready. It should all come together. There shouldn't be much left in your bowl at all. If it feels too wet, you can add a little bit more flour to it. But we're going to add a lot of flour when we're doing the rest of the stuff, so it's easy. So anyway, now we want to throw this in the fridge for a little bit. Go ahead and like use your fingers and pinch it into 2 pieces. Easy. Don't have to be perfect. And then go throw it in the fridge, and then we want to hear what you're drinking. So I'm going to throw this real fast.
Bring the rest of the guys in here for a beer while we do that. So, Adam Green Let me take out Pie Cam. I hope everybody, thank you guys for joining us. So right now, Chef is chilling the dough, and we're going to chill with you guys for a moment and have a beverage. Bobby Bricks, so I'll bring you in a second. Brett Berry, hey, buddy. My lovely co-hosts. What are you drinking?
Got some electric lettuce from Moonraker, which is just lovely.
What's our audience thinking? That's what I want to know right now.
Yeah, let's see what they're drinking.
On this lovely Thursday, let us know in the comments what you're having. Tamara, we'll come back to you in just a moment. You look like you're ready to roll. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to move on here in a moment. She is ready. But Bobby Bricks, how am I coming along over there? Let's go. Brett, Adam, I'll come back to you guys in a sec. I want to bring Chef back in here for a moment and let her. I don't know if you saw Bobby's dough situation.
Yeah.
So he's not chilling yet, apparently.
He's playing with his food. So chilling is really, really important, and this is where a lot of people have problems with pie dough, because they go ahead and use it right away. It's too soft, so it gets springy and weird. There's gluten that develops, so when you stick it into a fridge, you're kind of stunting the gluten, so it's giving you a chance to roll it out. You don't want to over chill it, because then it's going to be like hard as a rock, and your butter is going to crack and make it hard to roll. So by the time we're done peeling our apples, some of you have done it already, so you can enjoy your drinks during. While we're peeling and chopping our apples, by the time we're done, it should be ready to roll out. So start doing that right now.
You're going to start peeling apples and having a drink with us?
Dog is helping right now with the awesome.
What's that?
No, I see somebody's dog's helping making pie, and that's awesome.
Somebody's dog is helping pie. That is awesome. All right, so it's the peeling apples portion, and while you do that, I'll have you hang out with Beth and Adam and I, my co-hosts. We'll chat for a minute while you do.
And another thing I want to add, we're adding lemon juice into it, and that kind of keeps your apples from turning brown and getting too soft. You can easily add a half a cup of whiskey to it instead, and you don't have to use lemon juice, just saying. So I'm gonna start peeling that out. I'm gonna try
half
to
a
do
cup
that.
of whiskey instead of lemon juice can be used?
Oh, 100%. I think there's a name for it. I don't remember the name for it, but it's like there's one place that they would make every kind of pie with whiskey. So they'd even make pumpkin pie and add a cup of whiskey into it, and it's just like a staple. And that, yeah, they're smart. I'm sure it was in Kentucky. I don't know.
Well, hey Brett, I know that you're not making pie with us right now, but you couldn't peel away from.
Peel away. Peel away.
Peel away. And you see what I did there? You see what I did there? It was rather fun. Hold on, I got Bobby. Hold on, Bobby is doing the thing, right?
What is Bobby doing?
Cup of whiskey.
Oh, he's adding the whiskey. Nice.
Oh man.
That's more than a half a cup.
Hey Bobby, can you stare into the camera? We need those dreamy eyes every time you're anything into anything. That's
Do what?
Always have to stare into the camera when you do any pouring whatsoever. Everyone's a fan of just dreamy eyes.
So I have a question for you, Bobby.
Yeah.
Instead of wasting these peels, I'm kind of like peeling them away right now. How can you use these peels to make ingredients for a drink instead of just throwing them away?
So I've actually been, I took all my peels and I just put them into Cambro. I've been shaking it with sugar. So I'm going to let this sit kind of overnight, kind of shake it and get the apples. You can see it's starting to kind of embed into the sugar. I'm going to essentially make a syrup or a shrub out of it. So I haven't decided, but I'm going to make you a cocktail too, Chef. Yeah.
So are you putting that in the fridge?
We kind of talked about one of the first apple pies ever. It was made with saffron and some type of Greek liquor. So I was saying that might be cool to have a cocktail that tasted like one of the very first apple pies. So they've actually been around forever. People started making pies in Egypt around 6,000 BC. So a long, long time ago.
Wait, that's like right next to my neighborhood. I'm Libyan. Egypt's close. That means there's got to be.
So your ancestors probably ate a lot of pie.
There
And
must
so
have been
how
a
they
pie
would do it-
migration.
Not necessarily with pie crust, but anything baked in an oven or over fire in a container is considered a pie. So what people would do to keep meat from drying out is they'd pack it with clay or ash or something else, and then they would cook that and then chip that away, and that was considered pie. And then people figured out they could mix lard with flour and start making pie that way. And those were the Europeans, and they actually called the pie crust coffins. But it had nothing to do with people inside of a coffin. It had the idea of encasing food in it. And they didn't even eat it because it was like the outside of the crust was almost impossible to eat. But it's just cool history. Like, people didn't actually start putting people into coffins until Shakespeare decided to bake 2 people into a pie for one of his stories.
Well, Chef, while you're peeling, I want to and engage our audience a little bit here. So, and Bobby, you're working diligently over there. I'll come back to you in a second. Adam, did you see comments that I might have missed while I was bouncing?
Well, just a couple of things here. We had questions. I don't know if we answered how much water was used to start, although maybe we're not even using water anymore. We're using whiskey and all other sorts of things.
It was 2.5 tablespoons.
Okay.
So now
we have. Someone asked if the oven should be preheating.
Oh, yes. So thank you for that. That's very, very important. 425. So we're going to do it kind of hot. And if you saved your paper bag, we're going to put our pies into the paper bag because that's going to keep it from getting too brown, and it'll make everything caramelized really nice inside the pie.
So I have a question about that, Chef. Like, I have a guess of, do I want to put a paper bag in there if there's flames? That sounds like maybe bad idea.
No, so if that's the case, you can put tinfoil over it, or nothing. I mean, you don't have to put any of that. What might happen, some ovens tend to run a lot hotter than the others, so it might get extremely dark on top, but it's still going to be really delicious, especially if you put ice cream or something on it. So the paper bag trick, it's just an old trick that has been done for a really long time and just keeps it from getting too brown, but can cook for a whole hour in a 400+ degree oven. You can easily turn your oven even down to 350 and cook it for like an hour and a half, and that's fine too.
So for everybody watching, before somebody comes and tries to do all of us, do not put a paper bag in an open flame. Paper is flammable.
No.
Okay.
So if you're baking in a regular oven, an electric oven, the bag is going to smell like it's burning, and that's totally normal.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
But it's not. In a regular electric oven, it's fine. But you do not have to use the bag. And also, I suggest putting your pie in a small sheet tray because all the sugars and butter and everything are going to cook over the side, and you don't want to make a giant mess inside your oven. So I usually put it on like a small pan, and then I don't have to worry about cleaning up a huge mess in my oven every single day. What else you got?
Let's look back. I'm going to switch Pie Cam 2 just because I love watching the chopping happen. And while we're in Pie Cam 2, Adam, any other comments we saw there? Thank you guys all.
There was one more, and it's a question for me, and that's, did anyone else hear angels when Bobby was pouring that whiskey all over his apples? Because, I mean, they sounded lovely.
I did not. And
that's unfortunate.
Bobby, just go back to your pie, buddy. Did you get past the chilling part at least, Bobby? I see you back there. Did you chill?
Did you chill your pie dough?
Yeah, I'm chilling my pie dough.
Okay, cool.
I'm chilling.
Once this is mixed, we're pulling it right back out.
I got distracted by whiskey. What can I say?
What happened?
I like the so our dear friend Lorenzo says Old Forester 1920, and is he putting it in the apples? I don't know.
No, it was 1897.
So talking about using apples to make a cocktail.
Oh yeah, I just drink that straight in a pie, in an apple oleo shrub cocktail. Yeah, I'll drink it all day. Nice.
Andreas is having some Maue Latte, a Mezcal of the Month Club. There you go. Nice. Good stuff. Cool. Chef Hoppin coming along.
I'm almost done with this part. So
you're good. I'm going to bring in Brett because we haven't talked to him for a while. Guys, I hope you're all chopping away and listening to us chat for a bit. Feel free to throw in your questions. We'll eventually get to them, and Chef has offered to hang out with us after we finish making pie. So,
hey, Yusuf.
Yeah.
Between the drinking and your current hours you are keeping and what's going on in this episode, I feel like we are basically the living embodiment of the national song "Fake Empire," where it opens up with "Stay out super late tonight, taking apples and pies." Plus, the lead singer's always drunk off his ass, so it seems very apropos of the moment.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Do you like how I combined apropos and drunken ass in the same sentence?
How normally, so when we're watching this for the first time, you know how normally get rid of Adam Green for fun?
All right, we're ready for the next step. Are you guys ready?
We are ready, and everyone else is ready. Come back.
Okay, cool. So a lot of people part beforehand, and I just want to mention, you don't have to peel your apples if you don't want to, but if you're going to do that, you need to cut them really, really small so you don't get big chunks of peel in it. But I'm all about, if you don't want to waste a part of the apple, don't waste it. The original apple pies, they would bake just a whole apple inside the crust. They wouldn't even peel out anything. And that was like a meal every single day. So you don't have to peel it if you don't want to. It's up to you. So anyway, you got some lemons in there. So all we're going to do is just squeeze the lemon juice in there unless you put the whiskey in there. If you already put the whiskey in there, then you probably don't need the extra lemon. So I'm just going to cut all those in half. And then you can use your hand, or if you have a strainer, you can strain it in so it doesn't have to be too crazy. So this is just going to keep it from getting too brown, and it keeps your lemons fresh. And citrus also brings out the natural flavor of apples. So super delicious. So I'm just going to squeeze all that really quick. I do use that much lemon juice. It does make it tart. So if you don't like tart apples, don't squeeze all of it. Maybe squeeze half of it into there. So anyway, once that's in, I'm just going to give it a quick mix. And then you should have a container with filling for people that don't have that. It's a cup of sugar. It's 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. It's a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. You can add ginger into it. You can add cloves. You can add black pepper. There's so many different things you can add to this. And this pie is also universal. You could add any kind of fruit in here instead of apples. Just make it about the same volume. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to pour it in. And I'm going to stir this evenly. This makes the apples start to macerate and all the best flavors come out. So now that's mostly mixed. We can start rolling our dough. So I'm going to run away and grab my dough out of the fridge, and then we're going to start rolling.
While you're grabbing dough, we'll have a drink with Brett and Bobby for a moment.
Bobby, I missed you.
Missed you too.
Guys, the romance is so good here.
It's real.
We do want to see the pictures, guys. For anyone that is watching right now, following along, send us pictures, post them in the comments, and we will also post the ingredients list one more time and any tips and tricks from Chef after the show. So, and in the meantime, share this with your friends. You should be able to go back if you want to catch up with us, and with everyone. Bobby,
Good.
You ready to roll? You ready to roll dough, Chef?
I'm ready. So
Bob,
split.
Are you ready to roll dough? He's gone.
Is everybody ready?
She's all yours.
Okay. So we split the dough in half. So this is a half. Try to grab the bigger half, if that's possible. So I'm going in, I'm using my hands to make kind of like a cylinder of dough. And this is going to help you really get your pie dough even when you're rolling it out. So I just use my hands and try to make sure so I have a nice flat slab. And then flour is important. So if you have extra flour, make sure you put plenty on your cutting board. So you can roll out on any flat surface. You can do it on a regular cutting board. I prefer wood board, but I like a countertop's completely perfect. So anyway, I'm getting a nice amount of flour right this and kind of reinforce the shape to make it even and get both sides. Don't feel bad if you have too much flour. Flour is really, really important to keep it from sticking. So when you're rolling out, any kind of rolling pin will work. I have like this weird shaped one just because I like how it rolls. But you can use the regular rolling pin. I grabbed a bottle of wine. If you want to try to roll with that, if you don't have a rolling pin, like that works just as good. You're just gonna use it and make steady motions.
Can we use the bottle of whiskey too? Like, you know.
Yeah, as long as it's filled up nice.
Okay. So nice
I'm just-
round bottle of whiskey.
I'm turning the dough a little bit and I'm gonna start rolling again. This first part's pretty important just to kind of maintain the shape. If it starts to crack, that's fine, you can fix it later, but trying to make it as even as possible in the beginning is really important to your end result. So we're gonna roll it to about 12 inches across. That should be good enough for a 9-inch pan. If you're working with a bigger pan, then you obviously wanna go more to 14 to 16 inches. But add more flour as you need it. There's chunks of butter in there, so those are gonna stick if you don't have enough flour protecting. So anyway, we're gonna put the wine aside and I'm gonna use my roller. So you just go along the edges and try to press it out without going too thin. And just roll around the sides. Again, it doesn't have to be too perfect. You can fix that in the end. And since this is the bottom piece, should be okay. So I'm looking for, this is a little bit bigger, but this is fine. So about this size, it's about 12 inches across. So there's a few ways to move it. You can put it on your rolling pin and roll it up so you can transfer it. Or if you have enough flour in there, you can just kind of like move it to the side. And so we all should have a 9-inch aluminum pie tin. If you do not, anything will really work. So we're gonna go with
Chef, I want to take 30 seconds to look at Bobby's action here. Bobby Bricks, show me your.
more flour.
More flour.
Okay, our chef says more flour. All right, you're out of here, Bobby. Back to you, Tammy.
So anyway, I'm gonna take my dough and I'm gonna drape it over the top of my pan and try to make sure it's even. So you can see like some parts of my dough kind of broke over here. That's okay. Like you can fix it. You can just kind of like press it together and fix it. It's just because I have big old chunks of yummy, delicious butter in there. So bottom piece, not a huge deal. So I'm gonna press around the edges and just make sure it's even on the inside. And then I'm just gonna trim off the excess so it's nice and even around it because you don't need a ton of dough on this part. So you see it's like pretty pressed on the inside. And then I have some scissors. If you don't have them, you can just use your hands and kind of break it off. But I'm just gonna trim around and make it pretty even because, I mean, you don't want it too lopsided, right? So I'm just trimming around. All these extra pieces, save, you might need them to kind of patch stuff up, or you might want to like build some crazy crust on your pie, which is fine too. So once we have all that, you can take your filling. So you have more than enough apples for this. I like my pies overflowing and really, really, really big, but you don't have to do that. Like you can use partial and you can save the rest of the apples for something else. I think Abel was saying he was gonna eat some with some crickets later or something funny like that. It sure is delicious. So,
I gotta look back in the comments. That's in there for sure.
about the crickets? I know it's in there somewhere. He sent me it earlier. He's like, I have way too many apples. I'm totally eating these with the cricket.
Check it and see how that's looking over there. Bobby, how you looking over there, buddy?
I don't want to show you anymore.
Okay, all right. I mean, chef's giving you live tips, man. This is a master class right now. She's giving
Oh no.
So
I might have restarted.
So if you macerated your apples already, they should be extra juicy. Make sure to pour all those juices into the pie. Like, don't waste any of that stuff. The flour is gonna bind it together, so you're fine with that. Just all those extra apple and lemon and whiskey juices or whatever. You don't have to put in all the apples if you don't want. You can see this is like overflowing, lots of apples. That's a happy pie. So now that I have that, I'm gonna kind of set it to the side so I can do my top piece. Am I waiting for Bobby?
I don't think we need to wait for Bobby. I think we just look at Bobby. You keep working, chef. You do you.
Okay, so we filled the dough. So now we're gonna roll our second piece, and we can decorate if we want. I'm gonna do a really simple. We're just gonna vent it. So I have like a pie pan or a like a pizza tray or whatever. You can just use any kind of tray. It just helps. Since these pie trays are aluminum, they're kind of unstable. So if you can put it on something, it will bake a lot better. If you're using a glass pie tin, or pie plate, which I recommend, they like the best pies come out of the glass ones. They're just a little too expensive for everybody, but just make sure it's reinforced on something so you're not trying to like peel it out of your oven, and it will also keep you from getting liquid like boiling everywhere in your oven.
Do you mind holding that up to our pie cam number 2? I just want everybody to see that pie cam number 2 there. This one over here, the one on your left. Yep, that looks beautiful. There it is. All right,
yeah, so then you can take your second piece of dough, and we're pretty much going to do the same exact thing. You don't have to roll it out as thin. It's probably more like 10 inches instead of 12, but it's okay if you get a lot of overlapping, like it will help seal it in. If you want to like do lattice style pie, you would just take a knife or a bench scraper and cut pieces and then kind of weave it on there. You can also take like a little thing to stamp it out. Like if you have a little cutter and stamp holes everywhere, and that's fine. You should always vent the top of your pie. It has to release steam. That's how it cooks. Otherwise, it's gonna like crack and bust all over the place. So like old world pies, when they would bake birds into the pies and stuff, they would like keep the legs sticking out the side and stuff to create vents. Or you see like little faces sticking out. They had some really strange pies back in the day.
So, Chef, you've got a question here. Christina Martirana, she says, her apples are really saucy. Do I put that in there too?
Yes. Pour all that saucy. It means it macerated really well. That's a lot of your flavors. So your pie is going to be super juicy. If you want it to be drier, you can hold off on some of that and just set it to the side, and that's fine. But oh my gosh, pour it in. Or like some people prefer to cook their apples beforehand in a saucepan and just add it afterwards so it starts to turn into caramel. And you can do that too. So you don't even have to put it in there now. But I enjoy a saucy pie. So I guess it all comes down to your preference.
You know what? We've waited 40 minutes just to hear Chef say, I enjoy the words, I enjoy a saucy pie. So the quote of the day are, hey, Bobby Bricks, do you enjoy a saucy pie as well, sir?
Hell yeah. I think all of us back here prefer saucy pies. What do you guys think?
The whole kitchen?
Chefs?
100% saucy pie.
I love it. You guys are all working over there. Cheers. All right, Chef, back to you.
All right, so I have my top piece here. It's not rolled as thin as the other. And so what I'm gonna do is this one I'm gonna roll up on my rolling pin. I'm gonna set my other pie up here, and I'm just going to take this and drape it over the top. So like that. And then just kind of make sure that it's even on there. Lots of apples in there. I got a little tear, that's okay. So you're gonna take your pie dough and kind of bring them together, and I'm gonna start to roll them over the top. You can do an under roll. I prefer to do upper roll on a pie like this.
So I got another question from the audience here real quick while you're doing that, Chef. Are we supposed to butter the pie dish? This is Tina.
No, there's a lot of butter in the dough. Don't butter it. You don't have to butter it. There's so much butter in the dough, it's gonna get really juicy on the bottom, more juicy. You don't need to butter it. Sometimes you do, but with these, I've had no problems not buttering the pie, just because if you did a different kind of crust that was like shortening, you might need to butter the crust. So I'm just going around and I'm sealing this by rolling the bottom and the top crust together, if you can see. And I'm gonna do that all along the edge. And all the way to the end. It's not the prettiest. There's a few things you can do. to make it pretty. We grabbed some toothpicks if you want to do it that way, or you can use a fork, or you can use your scissors and trim along. But I'm just going to go along the edge and just make a little indent, and it's just going to make it look better in the end result. Just make sure you have enough flour, because I don't. I'm making a mess. So this is just going to be a simple pie. So this is called crimping, when you go around the outside, just to kind of seal it. And I don't like how that looks, so I'm going to turn it just a little bit more.
And you can like put your own twist on how you crimp your pie, right? This
You can do it any way you want to make it pretty. You can actually, instead of doing this, you can take extra pie dough and you can make a braid and kind of put it along the outside to make it look really pretty. You could like stamp out, you can cut out leaves and stuff and add that onto there, and it just looks good.
So for people who are doing this right or end up doing this, post pictures, we want to see what your pretty crimp looks like. Another sentence that I didn't think I'd ever say out loud. Pretty. So
the most important part is creating a vent in the top of your pie. So if you're not doing a lattice or didn't punch holes, you can use a knife, but I'm going to use scissors, and I'm just going to cut across in the very, very top, because you need to have a big vent in the top. So that's going to look kind of like that. I don't know if you can see it, but across in the top. And then you need at least 5 cuts in it. So I'm going to just cut a few even things all over the side, so I have enough vents. This will help it cook faster and cook more evenly. And that's pretty much it. You can make it super fancy. I was talking earlier, you can cut the crust if you want. So if you go through and use your scissors and just make like a bias cut all around, it'll make the bottom part of the crust look better. But there's a lot of different things you can do. So I'm gonna go along and do that. And then we have some heavy cream and some raw sugar. It should have been in the bag. You don't have to use this. You could use egg wash or use nothing. I prefer using heavy cream just because I think that it makes the pie look better and it makes it crunchier and just tastes better. So,
and this is for brushing over the pie before you throw it in the oven, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So should have had a little bit of heavy cream in there. And then if you don't have a pastry brush, you can just use your hand. You don't have to have a pastry brush. It just makes it easier. And it's not going to be perfect. You don't want pools of cream over here. You just want enough. It'll help the sugar adhere to the top of your pie. If you're using an egg wash, be really careful not to let that pool, because you can get big old pools of egg all over your pie. You don't want that. So you're going to brush this. It'll look really nice when it's done. All the sugars will caramelize really nicely. It's also pretty messy. So. All right.
I love it. That late 5:45 sunlight, slightly glaring, so hopefully everybody can see you on there. I know we have multiple things right low, but
that one kind of works. There we go.
Good. So
sorry, loud. I have the raw sugar, so I'm gonna dust that everywhere. So definitely make it on the outside of the crust, around the edges, and then on the top. And I'll give you a nice crunch of your crust, just extra delicious. And then once you're done with that, it's pretty much ready to bake. You can stick it in the fridge to let it chill for a minute, or you can just stick it right in your oven. Has everybody got your ovens warmed up to 425?
Find out. I'm curious. And at this, Chef, I'm guessing we can do a little Q&A, right? Once you throw this into the oven?
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the paper bag real quick in my oven, because I do not have flames shooting out in my oven.
Okay.
So I have the paper bag that was brought with this. So I'm just going to set it on its side like this. Put the pie all the way on the side, and then just roll it up. And then I'm going to stick it in the oven just like this. And I'm going to bake it at 425 for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to turn down the oven to 400 degrees for 50 more minutes. So a total of 1 hour in the oven. if you're cooking at a lower temperature, it's going to be probably a lot longer than 1 hour. So, but for me, 1 hour total. So I'm going to go stick this in the oven and come right back to answer some questions.
Okay, cool. Well, while you're doing that, Chef, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll take out Chef Cam and throw in the boys here for a moment. Hey, guys.
Hey. Non-chefs.
What's going on? So
I
we're gonna do Q&A. When I say the boys, how can I forget? Bobby Bricks is here. Brandon P is here too. Hey, Brandon, I'm gonna have you jump in here. We're gonna do a Q&A. Bobby, how's your pie looking, buddy?
Definitely not as pretty as Chef's, but I mean, kind of.
Oh, this is good.
Wait, just get your eyes next to it, then it'll be fine.
I know. I'm gonna try and put a middle finger in the top and see what happens.
All right. Well,
that's your response to everything.
hold on. Can you hang on 1 second, guys? Bobby, can you show pie to Chef one more time? She's here. Now.
Forever.
So it's falling apart. Hang on, Adam. There you go.
Hey, Yusuf, you know what Bobby's best baking quality is?
What's that?
Preheat the oven to 425. He just winks at it.
Okay. You know what? I just saw 2 questions and you're totally right. I did not put the rest of the butter in the pie. We need to. So we can fix this problem right now. Bobby, before you stick that in the oven and you cut your vents in there, just push the butter into it. So we need 2 more tablespoons of butter to go into that pie. Totally just skip that step.
Is that pie still going to be good?
Yeah, it's totally good. There's a lot of butter in that.
I figured. So it's okay.
It just makes it extra caramelly.
And Lorenzo asked the question that we answered earlier about no, do not use the paper bag in a gas oven. Lorenzo.
No.
Don't do it. Do not. I'm posting this right now. Do not use a paper bag in a gas oven.
Only in a regular electric oven. If you missed the first part of the conversation.
Oh,
so
man.
it's just an old trick to make a better looking pie, so you don't have to do that.
Perfect. So I'm going to put up hi Brett, sorry, I didn't mean to bring you to the party. Put up a quick little banner. Tell everybody right now is the time where you can ask any questions you want to Chef. We'll cut back over to Bobby and his lovely pie making situation. But right now is the time where we go to a live Q&A with Chef Tamara Stanger from Cotton and Copper.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here so much.
So I'm going to cut back to one step we totally missed, and that's adding the extra 2 tablespoons of butter. If you have the top on already, it's okay. You can cut vents and stick it in there. This happens. There's a lot of mistakes that happen in pie making, and usually it's not a huge deal. It makes it extra delicious. So no worries. It can still go in there. So the cooking times, you're going to start at 425 for 10 minutes, and then you're going to reduce the oven to 400 for 50 minutes. If your oven cooks really hot, you can turn it down to 375 instead of 400. So it doesn't have to be that hot. Some people's ovens cook a lot hotter. If you want to put foil on the top of your pie, that'll help it from getting too brown during that cooking time. You don't have to put any of that on. Some people's ovens cook super low, so you don't really need anything on your pie at all.
So the question keeps coming up, and I think at this point it's become the running joke, is can you put the paper bag in the gas oven?
No.
To that question quickly, our dear friend Brandon Casey from Woodshed, shout out to Brandon. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm good.
We can almost sort of kind of hear you. Don't put your
let me.
oven. Don't do it.
But
No,
I
your
want to.
questions do not have to be pie related.
Yeah, and they don't have to be pie
But
related.
they should be.
They could be.
They could be. They should be.
Brandon,
I even wore my chef coat for you. I had to find it.
No.
I don't know if you can read it. There we go.
Shandy King.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's probably been 5 years since I've worn this damn thing.
Mr.
But it looks
Casey,
better than my homeless haircut.
What are you drinking?
Oh.
Yeah, put it in front of us. What do you got there? So some champ, some mum. All right, okay.
Not that $4 mum dumpster you get at Safeway. Some actual mum champagne.
Some real bum, not the
Yeah.
$2 chunk. I got you, Ben. Well, cheers to you, my friend. Oop, knocking glasses over. Cheers to you. And let's see if anything else has popped up in the comments there. Chef, is there anything you want to tell us about how this has been?
To show you like the end results of the pies. So I baked 2 of them earlier just to make sure we had them all. So this is one with the lettuce on the top. So if you wanted to make it fancy, you got nice caramelization. I don't know if you can see all the crystals on it. And then this is the one with just cutting vents on the top. So it cracked a little when I pulled it off the tray just because of all the juices kind of made it stick, but nice, pretty pie.
Nice.
No matter what, like the end result of your pie is amazing. You dump some ice cream on it and just grab a big spoon. I mean, you can't go wrong with apple pie.
The hashtag, so Trish is asking, she's going to post, we're going to post pies. The hashtag is Beat the Boredom AZ. I'll put it in the chat here. It's Beat the Boredom AZ. And please feel free to tag us and tag Cotton and Copper, tag Chef, get it in there.
And Adam Green, we had a finished pie, but if you stick around for a whole hour, I'll show you another finished pie.
Yeah, I don't mind running this for the rest of the time that's as long as we've got people watching, and we do. Is that Sean with the mask?
Yeah, that's Sean. He's he's properly socially distancing, as he should be keeping safe right now.
Well, thank you, John, for giving Chef the space to do this for us and hanging out with us today. And says thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
For everyone that's still watching. I mean, I know that people are probably going to ask some questions. You said about anything have to be about, it doesn't have to be pie related. And so my question to you is, when this, and obviously we all got into this whole social distance situation, what was your initial reaction when you realized you close down and stop doing something that I know you so passionately love doing every day of your life?
It was, I don't know, there's so many emotions attached to it. I mean, we have this place in the community. People really love food out here. We offer like the drinks, the food, just a place for people to go. And when we made the decision, we just came off a week of probably some of the best sales we ever had. Like the community, these people here, they packed the place. They wanted to support us. They want to keep us going. And Sean and I sat down and we decided that, you know, for the safety of our customers, the safety of our employees, we needed to just close for a little while. We didn't realize it would be so long. So it's been really, really hard. I mean, I miss all of our staff. It's hard for everybody, you know. There's nowhere you can go get another job at Costco or at Safeway or somewhere, but like you're putting yourself in an unsafe place for less money. It's a hard decision to make. And we mostly just miss making drinks and food. I mean, that's what we do. We serve the community. So I mean, everybody's feeling the same. Everybody, like, no matter what decision you made a good decision, because we're all in a new world. We didn't know what to expect. And
it's definitely, and by the way, Sean has inspired me to put on my mask, even though I am at home alone. Well, I've got my cat with me, but he's also,
you know, take care of that cat.
Right. So I do have some questions that came in the comments section here.
Okay.
Robin Argenbright wants to know, what inspires you when you find local ingredients, Chef?
So there's 2 different things when I'm working with agricultural food. So we grow so many our farmers grow so many good things out here. So what inspires me is just the challenge of something I probably never worked with before, or say someone just grew like a ton of zucchini, and that's like what they have to get rid of. Just figuring out new recipes on and how to use that. And then desert foraged ingredients, just figuring out just a thoughtful way of doing it, keeping the desert safe. And something I think we all have to consider now is, how do we use ingredients thoughtfully? How do we create food without wasting ingredients? How do we go back to the basics, like, you know, potatoes and certain things that don't cost a lot and you can feed a lot of people with. You'll see when we reopen, we're probably going to be a lot more thoughtful with our menu and try to use ingredients in a better way, you know, try to cut out all the waste. Not that we were wasting a lot before, but just a better use of things, a better use of ingredients, maybe get rid of some of the stuff that's just extra lavish, and focus on feeding people good food.
And another comment from Robin, by the way, and this is just good feels, because that's what I want to send the internet right now to everybody. She says, "Love the food at Cotton and Copper, and thank you for making my husband and my 15th wedding anniversary." So it was a thank you to you from Robin Argerbright, who had that question.
Oh, I remember this. That's an Emily made this creme brulee out of coconut, and it was fabulous. Thanks for spending your anniversary here. It's stories like that. It really means a lot to us that people will choose us to spend such an important time. I mean, that's kind of what keeps us going, and we miss you guys. Can't wait to do this again. And you're right, Christina. I did say 50, not 15. I'm sorry, it sounded the same. So,
yeah, I want to make sure our boys at Carreño.
50 minutes. So, and 1 hour total. 1 hour total at 400. If your oven runs really, really hot, then you can do 375 or 350. It all depends on how your oven runs. But it should be about an hour total.
So, Chef, obviously my co-host here, and I think both Adam and Brett have some questions they want to throw at you. And guys, while you're here, if you're in the chat, I know some of you are trying to catch up and make pies. Some people started a little bit late. Feel free to throw questions in here. She's hanging out with us, and she's got a drink somewhere too, so she's joining us. Drinking. Green, you had a question for Chef?
Yeah. I mean, this has been great, and you made it look really easy, Chef. But I'm wondering if there are any common mistakes that you notice, or that people like myself do when we're either making pies or just trying to make a meal. Is there anything that you notice that you're like, hey, don't worry about it, it's fine?
Well, you saw me make a few mistakes there, right? I mean, my pie dough cracked a lot when I was rolling it, and it's mostly because I'm rushing it and I'm not putting it really at the right temperature. So it cracked a lot, but you can press it back together with your fingers, or, I mean, you need vents in your pie anyway, so it's not a big deal. And then also for getting the butter at the end, that's an easy fix by just sticking it in there, or just don't put it in there. It doesn't necessarily need it. That's the biggest thing, is I think just making sure you have good slabs of butter in your pie and not worrying about it. If it doesn't roll out perfectly, just try again. It's really cheap to make the dough. And it's also delicious if you mess up pie dough. Just throw it on a sheet tray with brush it with some butter and cinnamon and sugar, and just eat it like that. It's like chips. It's so delicious. Like, you don't even have to, you can throw it on ice cream and it's amazing. So don't worry if you make mistakes. It's really easy to do. I mess up a lot of pies. I bake a lot of pies. So there's a lot that I mess up. Sometimes I'm lucky and it turns into something even better. So
Chef,
it's something that happens. Just enjoy yourself, because that's what it, like right now, the whole thing about making pie is like, just do something that is meaningful, feels good, you can feed people, and, you know, pass time, and maybe make it a few times till you get really good at it. We have plenty of time to do that. We're beating the boredom.
There you go. I love it. Adam, thank you for your question. Chef, I do have some stuff coming in from the audience. Oh, that was a whole lot of Adam and distanced. One of them, I think, our dear friends at Mezcal Carreño said, wait, I've been drinking. How much time is the temperature again? So
okay, so 1 hour total. Start at 425. If you miss that, just take it to 400 degrees and go the rest of the way there. If your oven runs really hot, turn it a little tiny bit lower.
Perfect.
That's all.
I'm putting that in the comments so that whether it's Ivan or whoever else doesn't burn the pie.
If you overcook or undercook your pie, I mean, just throw some ice cream on there and just a big spoon and just eat it. It'll be fine.
So one more pie question, and then I've got a question from our friend Chris McBeth I really like, and it's not pie related, but one more. Giovanna, who's watching on YouTube, says her dough wants to come apart. Should she use more flour? Also, she's using a bottle of Merkin Chupacabra, Arizona wine, shout out, as her rolling pin. So.
If your dough's coming apart, you might have used too much flour. So kind of use your hands and press it back together. And it might be a good idea to just move your dough into your pie tin and just push it together with your fingers if it's breaking apart too much.
Okay.
Because you don't, if there's too much flour, it will like break apart a lot, and there's not a whole lot of fixing it at that point. So go ahead and just stick it in your pan and push it together, and just worry more about your top crust.
All right. And now here's a great question for you from Chris Beth. Chef, what is your all-time favorite cocktail and your all-time favorite meal for you at home when nobody is looking? So this is just for you that you're making.
When I'm at home, I don't drink a lot of cocktails at home, but I tend to just drink whiskey or scotch at home. I don't have a whole lot left over. So I don't know. I usually just drink it neat and don't even worry about it. I'm more of a beer drinker at home. And what was the other question?
So there's a whole bunch of them coming in here. Let's see.
No. The second part of that question was, about food.
Oh, what's your all-time? So the other part of the question was, what's your all-time favorite meal for you at home when nobody's looking?
Oh, when nobody's looking. Oh, crap. I can tell you what I ate today. I ate a Totino's party pizza today.
Yes. Yes.
So
There's a party going on. Hold on. So I've got Bobby
really cook for myself, really. I like to cook for other people. If I'm sharing the food, I'm going to go out of my way. If I'm just cooking for myself, I really don't go out of my way.
Fair. So Bobby's waving his arms. He's flailing them in the background.
Chef, you want to say something?
Yeah. This is for Chef Tammy. Hi, Chef Tammy.
Hi.
I'm Chef Sam from the Brickyard. Sorry,
Hello. Good to see you.
But I just wanted to say I think you're awesome. I remember one time you made a blue corn and blueberry tamale, which I thought was super creative and out of this world. And I just wanted to say I think you're a great chef. So
thank you. Likewise. I love your food too.
Looking forward to eating some more of your food soon. Okay?
Thank you.
Nice, Bobby. Hey, Bobby,
why did the pie go to the dentist? I'm seeing this. I want to know why.
Oh, was there a joke? Why did the pie go to the dentist? This probably won't go well. We'll see what happens.
I don't see
Bobby, I'm going to need you to bust out your Shema. Otherwise, we'll come back and surprise everybody. Oh,
how did your pie look? Did you get it in the oven?
Yeah, it's in the oven. I totally forgot to time it when I put it in there, so I'm just gonna go with GBD, golden brown, delicious.
Yeah, it should be done at 7 o'clock. We'll say.
Oh, let me get rid of Chef Sam.
Because it needed a filling. Okay, that's funny.
Well, that was funny.
Kevin.
For anybody that missed that, it was, why did the pie go to the dentist? And as a dad joke, this lands because he needed a filling. Well played, Kevin. Well played. Adam Green has listened to you, but Bobby, you want to make a cocktail for us while we're waiting on some questions, or?
Yeah, if you can give me 1 second, I'm gonna finish cleaning out my station so I don't get yelled at. So come back to me in a second.
Oh, here's a question for everybody. Does anybody know where the word pie came from?
Ooh, I'm gonna put that up for
Any
everyone.
ideas?
It's Matt, right? Like, comes from Matt.
From Matt? No.
So does anyone know where the word pie came? I will put that up for everyone to
Pie's been around for a really, really long time. So the word pie originated somewhere. Does anybody, if nobody has any idea, I'm just gonna tell you. I'm looking. There's another joke.
There's another joke. I'm seeing jokes come through. This is good.
Adam says it came from the heavens.
That is my dear co-host.
Oh, here we go. Chris he knows. There we go. It's a word for magpie. And it came about because of a magpie likes to collect odd ingredients, and pie sometimes is made with really odd ingredients. And so they would collect and shape a nest in the shape of a pie. Yep.
So is it just me, Chef, or does this look like Chris typed it into Google and then copied and pasted it into the comments?
Totally.
Oh, you cheated, Chris. You cheated. It's not cool.
So it's a partial answer, though. It's not the complete, like, everybody had a different idea of a pie no matter where you went. Like the Romans, they had a pie they made. It was a lot like cheesecake, and they would put it into a puff pastry, and they called it a placenta. So it's like they had a weird word for it. I don't know what the Egyptians called it. The English had like a million different pies I made with different words. Of course, the coffin, they put it in. It wasn't until the American Revolution when the people stopped calling pie crust a coffin and they called it a crust. I don't know where the change came through. Maybe it's because they realized they could eat the pie crust and they were putting bodies in coffins, so they didn't want to call that their food. Who knows? There's so much weird.
Adam had a question back in. We're asking.
Yeah, this was actually thrown up in the comments too, and it may be good for you, Chef, as well as Bobby when he comes back. But what kind of cocktail or drink would you pair with this pie that we're making tonight?
Oh, definitely any kind of old fashioned. Just because like orange and whiskey, and I mean Bobby poured a bunch of whiskey into his pie.
I saw there was a lot of whiskey. There was a lot of whiskey going into that pie.
I want it.
You want it, like all the drippings out of there, right?
Okay. Yeah. I'm not picky.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Looking at the conversations here, what else is happening? Enzo's talking about
a lot going on there.
Curtis.
Adam, we'll come back in a second. Bobby Bricks, you are still here and you're joining us again. Hey.
Hey.
There was a question.
Go ahead.
There was a question that I think your insight would be good for. It was, what cocktail would you pair with this pie?
I'm actually going to show you guys how to make it. I'm going to need about 3 minutes of prep time on it.
Okay.
Because I'm brewing some coffee. So.
All right. Coffee
and pie.
Yeah, coffee and pie, right?
So I know we've reached the 1 hour mark, which is usually when we try to start cutting it short. But hell, we've got 50 plus people hanging out with us right now, and I'm sure they're all waiting on their pies. You've got your pie cooking, and Bobby, I want to see this cocktail. So
yeah.
And where's your Shema? Go get it. Thank you. Jeez.
I'm gonna go check my oven really fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you guys back in a minute. Adam Green, right there. Yeah. What's up, boys? I'm out here. And actually, our dear friend Brandon Casey is doing something right now. I'm gonna bring him in too. Hey Brandon?
Hey, I'm just trying to figure out how to use my phone mostly.
Oh, that's good. Well,
welcome.
Hey.
Are you making pie?
Yes, so I'm a little behind. Obviously, the guy who owns a dive bar was at least 20 minutes late to the video call. I know, right? But I do have bourbon at least. So I am on the apple stage, and my apples are looking sexy. See if I can flip it.
Let's see what you got for apples there, buddy.
And then Bobby Bricks.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I want that.
You got to take
Brandon
a shot
Casey.
for yourself too, right? Yes.
Hey, Yusuf. I believe that's called Saucy Apples and Sauced Brandon.
Hey, Drew Poole is here, by the way.
Whoa,
hey, Drew.
whoa. Kettle Black.
Sauce Brando.
Yeah.
He is at the moment Brando. Shout out to do we reveal the name of the new drink that we came up with yesterday, or do we save it and reveal it next week?
Ooh, we can tease it.
We can tease it. I do enjoy a good movie with Marlon Brando in it. With an island involved, maybe.
There's an island, and it doesn't have Kurt Russell in it, though. So there's no escaping.
There's no escaping. There's no escaping.
Actually, I think number 2 is from that island.
So, there you go.
Shit.
Forgot the movie. If you guys have a guess, it would be hilarious if you can figure out what it is. I think I told you guys yesterday, though. So
it's for the Woodshed Weekend to-go packs.
Yep. All right, Brandon, I'll keep you in the background. Chef's back if you want to say hello real quick.
Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Tam. Because I was late, so I'm on Apple stage, so I just skipped dough stage. Can you give me just remember that I actually can kind of cook. So cliff notes on this dough.
So the dough, you want to take the butter and cut it into thin slabs. And then you're going to add that into your dry mix and use your fingers to kind of in this
crumble
motion.
It.
So with your chunks of butter, you're going to use this motion to kind of elongate it and make it thin inside of your flour mixture.
So crumble and fold together.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's all I needed. Thank you.
And then you're going to use a little bit of water to bring it together, and you're just going to push it together like a dough.
Can I use champagne?
Oh my God, a bird just flew right into our window.
Was that noise? But importantly, chef, can I use champagne instead of water?
Yes, 100%. So we were talking about earlier, people, Abel was asking if he could use mezcal. You can use, people normally use vodka because the way it evaporates a lot better than water. So if you use champagne, it will evaporate probably. It'll add extra sugar into it.
I've seen you use vodka on cakes, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I've used all kinds of things on cakes. I've used limoncello. I use kinds of simple syrup and different stuff on cakes. I usually do it after it's done baking. Just keeps it from drying out. So if you take a cake and you sprinkle just a little bit of simple syrup or some kind of sweet liqueur, it usually just makes it extra moist so your cake doesn't dry out.
Vodka helps Bobby's dad not dry out too. Yeah.
Brandon, go make your freaking pie. We'll come back to you in a minute. Clearly, you are a shot ahead of any of us right now.
Yes, Curtis, it was, that hit the window? I think it was a pigeon.
Hey, I really like this, by the way, Chef. We'll see in a minute, Brandon. So Matt, who's watching us on YouTube, said she's the apple pie liqueur from Caskworks Distillery in Tempe. So.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
That's really good vodka.
Good call. So how much time do we have left on the baking situation? And also,
I have 30 minutes left on mine.
People are here. People are hanging out. If you guys are still with us, that's awesome. Thank you. I can see you guys are here. Brett has a question for you. Brett. And after that, I think Bobby's going to be prepared to show us a cocktail here in a minute. Bobby, just give me a thumbs up, but Brett's going to ask a question first. Brett, I'm going to bring you in and step away for a moment, so I'll let you guys have a conversation.
Hi, Brett.
Hi. I have a couple questions for you.
Yes.
First of all, a very serious question. You're the chef at Cotton and Copper. What do you have against citrus, cattle, and climate?
What do I have against it? That's actually, we have jokes about our next concept being called. I'm just kidding.
Jokes or great ideas? I mean, a steak restaurant that has a big patio and serves cocktails?
Oh, totally. But we use those ingredients. So cattle, we work with a lot of local farmers. Citrus is like a huge thing for me. I've been picking like tons of citrus over in Arcadia just because it's everywhere. And obviously climate rules everything. So I mean, and then you forgot the sixth C is cactus. Very important. Very important.
Whoa.
People don't know. But
see that we were actually trying to sell people on. But no, I had some pie-related questions for you as well. What is your favorite pie, and what is the pie that you consider the hardest to perfect?
Okay, so my favorite pie is really easy. I make it a lot. I work with a lot of vinegars, and I think vinegar pie is my favorite, mostly because it's a Depression era pie. It comes from an era where people didn't have a lot of fresh ingredients, and they were limited on what they had. So they would make vinegar out of fruit that's rotting that they can no longer use. The pie, it's like a custard pie, so it's mostly eggs, sugar, a little bit of flour, and then vinegar, maybe some fruit puree with a lot of butter poured in there. And you get a lot of flavor from that vinegar. It really makes the flavor of the fruit pop. And it's just a really smart way to use ingredients when you don't have fresh fruit. So that's always been my favorite. At first it was a hard sell because people would hear vinegar and they're like, gross, that sounds disgusting. Is it tart? But it's been a favorite. It's something, the very first pie we did here at Cotton and Copper was the peach vinegar, and people are still asking, like they've been asking about it. So I'm sure that will come back. But I love the idea of pie just because it's one of those things that's been around forever, but you can make it with very little ingredients. It can cost hardly anything if you need to. Like anything you have, you can make anything. Right now, citrus, so you take lemons, you can make a shaker pie. And that's kind of like an Amish pie where you take lemons and make all the flavors come out, and you slice them really thinly, and it's super interesting. You can use all kinds of stuff, like apple pie. Instead of using apples, you could use zucchini. Zucchini, for some reason, if you add lemon juice, tastes just like apples. You can use saltine crackers. It's something people have been using for a long time. And if you do it right, it's hard to tell. It's pretty interesting. And I see somebody at Trish, she asked about the specific apples. So I'm just going to answer that really quick. I chose tart apples and sweet apples because sweet apples tend to get softer faster, so they get mushy. If you use a variety, you get the tartness and you get the sweetness, and it just seems to work together better. So I like to use a variety of apples. But okay, so your second question you had was the hardest pie to perfect. And that, I think, is any of the weird ingredients I bring in. So if I go and forage specific ingredients, I've never made these pies before. And if I mess them up, it's dead and I can't fix it. So I think the hardest thing is getting new ingredients and trying to come up with a pie. And mind you, when I make a pie, it's usually to sell for service that day. So if I mess it up, we don't have pie. So the hardest thing is to try to use science and then just, organic knowledge of how ingredients work and not mess up the pie. So I've had a lot of mistakes. I try not to, but I mean, I work with a lot of things I've never worked with, so I make a ton of mistakes. So if there's any problems with your pie, don't worry, because it's totally normal. And you don't have to use apples, or you can use apples in a combination of something else. Like you could throw blackberries or cranberries or anything in there. Bacon. I think you can throw anything in your pie.
Chef,
You say bacon?
You can put anything in. It doesn't even have to be sweet. You can take some of that sugar out and you can add other stuff into it. It doesn't even have to be sweet.
I want to let some more questions roll in. They're starting to come in, but Bobby is waiting patiently. Brett will come back to you. Without his shemagh, may I add, thank you. I went and got dressed up for you.
I left it in a different car.
Well, Bobby has a cup for us to pair, and Chef, that gives you time to refill your glass as well with that delicious Modem. I'm so set. Can you pour some out in a cup and just leave it outside for me? I'll drive by for a sip.
Of course.
Bobby, what are you making?
Probably
All right,
drink.
so just something I've been craving, and it just sounds perfect to go with the pie. So I'm gonna do something really easy to make at home, just a traditional Buena Vista style Irish coffee. The thing I was thinking about using cognac, except fortunately for me, I have this Tullamore cider cask that would go just absolutely outstanding, with apple pie too. And I figured we had some heavy cream, some sugar already. Cognac would be great, give you a little bit of fruity notes to it, but traditionally do an Irish whiskey. It'll also be equally as good. So first thing I did was I heated up my glasses. So this is just coffee water, nice and hot. All right. And so I'm making two, one for each of my chefs. We're making them pie and that. So what we're going to do is take 2 sugar cubes. And then a good pour of whiskey or cognac. I'm going to do 1.5 ounces.
Yeah, the chef's still got to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't want to go crazy. All right. And just top it with some coffee. And here's a key step. Obviously, it seems obvious, but what you want to do is you want to make sure that you mix the sugar and dissolve it completely into the cocktail as well. So all I'm doing here is just kind of moving it around, breaking up the cube. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth. Now, I'm not as talented as the boys over at Buena Vista because they could do this in a white chef's coat, like nonstop, free pour, just freshly brewed hot coffee and get 0 on top of them. So there we go, just kind of dissolve the sugar across the entire cocktail. Now we've done that, I'm going to top it a little bit more, leaving it nice, some room for heavy cream, all right? And then this part's really simple. So I'm going to take my shaking tin, some heavy cream. I'm not going to add any sugar to it. Fill it up, I'd say probably about 3-4 ounces. And just give it a good dry shake. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to whip it up, but you don't want to over whip it is one of the keys.
Again, some quality, like just gem moments in this show. I don't want to over whip it. Another good one. Another good one. Now stare right into that camera just like they love.
All right, now that I have whipped cream.
Look at that.
Yeah, that looks good.
That does look.
And then, in the spirit of apple pie, because we topped it with some of that sugar in the raw, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this Irish coffee.
Nice.
All
Well,
right.
take a pretty picture of that for me.
Oh, yeah.
Before we hand it off to the chefs, take a picture of it. We'll post it later. We'll post the recipe for everyone too.
All right.
Sweet. Thanks, Bobby. How's that pie coming along, Chef?
21 more minutes. I saw a couple of questions I'd like to answer. So Paula missed the beginning, and you asked about the type of apples we're using. So half of the apples were Granny Smith because you want to have a tart. You could actually do the whole pie with nothing but Granny Smith apples. We chose to add some Gala and some Fuji apples just for a little bit of sweetness, and it changes the texture a little bit and makes it more enjoyable. So you can do it with all kinds of apples. The only native apple to the United States is the crab apple. So if you have your hands on that, it'd be kind of cool to add that in there too, so just for some nice bitter to dry it out a little bit, because I prefer dessert that's not overly sweet. So something in there with a little bit of bitterness and tannins and some tartness really, really helps make it more of a savory. It's a little bit more enjoyable. The purpose of the paper bag, you don't have to use it. It's just an old trick of the trade. Like I didn't even know about it, and I found it in some old recipe, like cardstock recipes, not even in recipe books from like 1960 and before, where people would use a paper bag to bake a pie just because it kept it from overcooking. So you can cook it for the full hour in the oven without it burning on the top crust. So that was just an old trick, and I thought it was cool since all the ingredients came in a paper bag to just throw them in there and just use this old trick. And now if you have a gas oven, do not do this. It's
I'm glad we have this disclaimer. Like, don't put the paper bag in the gas oven.
I work with an electric oven, so obviously I didn't think about it and should have, but that's another thing. It's an old trick. It's one of those things you don't have to do it. It's just kind of, I baked 2 pies with that earlier and they turned out really good. And it's just kind of cool to not waste the paper bag, and it's a good way to reuse it. And thank you for the pie with the brie. So we served this apple pie before with some brie cheese because has this like funk to it. It's like tart funk that you can put on your apples. Apples do really good with cheese. Sometimes we make a cheddar ice cream and put that on top of the pie. So it's like a Midwest thing. You put a slice of cheddar on top of your pie. Don't be afraid to try that also. And then Chris, underneath that, you're asking about gluten-free crust.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do a gluten-free crust. I've went and gotten a lot of acorns before and made crust out of that. If you use mesquite flour, that's gluten-free. You can add different kind of flours like almond flour and different stuff if you want to into the pies. I'm sure it might be a little harder to roll out, but it works just fine. So you don't have to do that. Another idea is you don't even have to roll out a pie crust. You can make cookies, like gluten-free cookies, and just smash them up and add butter and then press it into your pan. So there's different ways you can do stuff without adding gluten into your pie. Might be kind of hard to make the top crust, but it comes to like bake a dozen pies and I'm sure you'll get it down. So just have fun with it.
Sweet. Bobby, I see you sitting there. I'm going to bring in Adam for a moment just because I had to go open up another drink, and I don't know if anyone else had to go open up another drink. So
I finished mine.
Did you just quit? You done?
I mean, the night is young, but you know.
I need to go get my growler to finish off that I got.
Chef had a flex on us because she just opened up the full bomber of modem tones, and I can't remember. I looked at my modem.
Prepared for that.
And I can't drink that fast, so I'm good.
No, you're good. What I'm saying is like that's a premium beer there, and I have
apples. Well, are you not supposed to have a good drink here in this social distancing club?
Absolutely, you are.
We don't have bad drinks. Youth maybe at times actually has had bad drinks.
Distanced. That's what we do. We just get rid of
Chef has me wondering if I should go get the latest Ren beer, the Mole Stout.
Wait a second.
Can I get a sec? Are you still there, Chef?
Yeah, I'm here. I say bye to Sean. He's got to go make dinner.
John's leaving. All right, see you, Sean.
Everybody say bye to
See you guys later.
Hi.
Bye, buddy.
Hey, Hey, chef. I don't know if you saw my comment in the public thread, but my question was, I has one of pies you just made.
Yes. I'll set it out on the sidewalk and you can drive by and nobody's coming in.
I will be
Just
there.
put it on your windowsill. I'll say, hey, boo boo, and run off.
You'll float through the air like a cartoon character.
Okay.
So, bye, Sean. Did Sean actually know?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're not making your own pie.
We didn't get the ingredients in time, unfortunately.
Oh.
Brett can still go back and make his own pie at some point, but you do have 2 more questions that came in. Brett, give us a second here.
Okay.
So somebody said, so first thing was Robin from earlier. She said, make it crumble with oats and sugar, right?
Yes.
Can she do that?
Oh, yeah, that's so good. You don't even have to put a top crust on your pie. You can just put a crumble on it. It's super delicious. And
Perfect.
It's easy. You can use oats or you can just use flour. You can add milk, or milk powder into it. You can do a few things, cornstarch. There's a few things to make it delicious.
And then you've got, this is a good question. And we were talking about you foraging. As a forager, have you made a nopalito pie or a prickly pear pie?
Well, yeah, actually, one of the last pies I made, it was for the Mezcal Carreño Loteria. And 2 people won, and I made 2 pies out of dragon fruit. So it was bright red with the seeds of the cactus. So if people don't know dragon fruit, it grows here. It's also called Peruvian apple. And you find it all over the neighborhoods. They're ornamental cactuses and super delicious. So I made pies with that. And you can make savory pies with the cactus pads. You can take like a green tomato pie and you can substitute that with the cactus. And cactus is cool because it has a natural thickening agent in it. So it's like kind of viscous. I don't know the word for it. It has a viscosity to it. So if you add that in there, it's like a natural thickener. It's really good for pie. So I would say for savory, the cactus pads are really, really good. And then for sweet pie, I've used prickly pear before. I've used the choya bud. There's just so many different things you can do. All cactus fruit is edible. Some are just really hard to process because of those crazy thorns. So you just have to be really careful.
So while we're on the topic of pie still, I do want to point out some people are making pies right now. And T-Mac, whoever you are, T-Mac, thanks for watching, says his kitchen smells, or she says kitchen smells amazing. And Andreas chimed in with yang too. So you've got some people that are making pies along with you right now.
I'm so excited to see these.
I'm sad that I don't have the smell of apple pie. Bobby, I see you. I think Chef and Bobby want to talk to you for a moment. Chef Sam and Bobby Kramer. Hey guys.
Yeah, anything you want to mention?
Are you trying the cocktail?
They just did this.
Oh, this cocktail?
Awesome.
Thanks for the
so good.
Both chefs in here. Yeah, come on, Nick.
All it's missing is the apple pie.
Trade me seats. Come talk. You're on next week.
I am on next week.
Yeah, so
What are
you're
you
doing
making? What are you making?
Okay, so next week we're going to go a little bit more along the dinner route. We're going to be doing a pork loin and sweet potato hash with an arugula pesto. That's the plan right now. As long as I'm able to get all the ingredients, hopefully we're going to be able to provide everybody a great meal. So we'll go from there.
Sweet. For those of us that don't eat pork, can we have a substitute meat that I can use at home?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually thinking of that too, because like you said, a lot of people don't eat pork out there. I did decide to choose pork on this dish because that's typically what I use for this dish, and it's also very affordable. But you can also substitute out like chicken. It'd be a great application for a steak as well.
So we'll have to talk more about that this week. We can give people a heads up on what they can use as their options.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Caitlin just joined us. Some of you may know Caitlin from previous shows. So Chef, Caitlin said she's just getting started, but hasn't made something with gluten and dairy for years. She's making it and apparently bringing it to me. Thank you, Caitlin. I love you. You're the best. So,
I mean, you can make it without dairy. You don't have to put butter in it. We were saying earlier you could use coconut oil or margarine in there instead, or actually any kind of oil. The crust is probably better using coconut oil or margarine just because it's going to make it easier to roll, and you don't have to use gluten. You can totally use any kind of substitute. It might give it a weird texture, but I mean, it's still going to be delicious. It has apples in it. So you can make this gluten and dairy free. It can be totally vegan, and it's pretty easy to do.
I love it. Let's see here. Christina Martirana says hers is so good.
Okay.
Chris from earlier, Chris Macbeth says thank you. And that they just made Mexican meat pies.
Yeah.
So nice, delicious. And Caitlin, responding to your response, says, what else am I going to do with this pound of butter if I don't put it in the pie?
I guess that's a good point. I guess you have to put it in the pie.
I have to put it in the pie. And if it's coming to me, thank you. I lost a few pounds this week, Caitlin, and it's only Thursday, so I'll just put it right back on the pie over. I appreciate it. That's awesome. Awesome. Bob, you're still with us. I've got Brett and Adam. I want to see if obviously my boys that I host the show with, if you guys have any more questions for Chef, and we can really just limit the whole thing, all 5 of us at once.
Well, maybe Chef, what's your favorite thing to make?
Oh, over top of anything else? Shoot. I don't know. I make so much stuff. I mean, obviously, I like pie. I really love making ice cream. I really love making corn-based stuff. So tamales and tortillas and mush and stuff like that. I really like working with corn. And like for the savory route, I really like soup. So like dumplings and stuff and soups, probably my favorite thing. So a cool pie fact. So the beginning pies, people couldn't really eat the flour mixtures on the outside of the pie because it was like burned and it was like tough as a rock. And so they would use it kind of like their pie shells were used for a Tupperware, basically, like to store things to carry them around. But people found if they chipped that flour mixture off and threw it into soup, it was like a thickener or a dumpling. So that's pretty much where the first dumplings came from, is like chipping away the outside of these pies and throwing them into soup to rehydrate it and make it edible. So it's pretty cool. And Lorenzo asked about empanadas. Yes, I love making empanadas. It's one of my favorite things too. I haven't done it in a while. It's been probably 2 years since I've made an empanada, but I do love them. They're also pies.
Brett, you had something to say? Lorenzo, thank you.
I was just going to say, I look forward to our future music episode when Adam asks a musician, do you like music, after he asks the chef, what do you like to make?
I feel like that's a fair question. If someone's an amazing chef, like what do they enjoy making?
Takeout.
No, it's a good question. It's like very versatile. So my favorite stuffs to make, my favorite things to make are things I've never made before. So I get bored really easily. So I think my favorite thing is a challenge. Weird stuff, or maybe like really difficult things, or like crazy ingredients. I like fermenting a lot. So things like transforming ingredients into something else and creating food out of that's pretty fun. I don't know.
It's like asking a bartender, hey, what's your favorite thing to make? And it's about 8 Ramos. It's probably
Hey, Bobby, this should become a challenge where random just points and goes, make a Ramos while you're in the middle of doing something. And you're Bobby, go make a Ramos. Just kicked him out. I want a Ramos. Go make.
Oh, these comments are so funny.
Yeah.
Do you make corn? Somebody asked about corn ice cream, and yes, I have. I have a recipe that I used to work with. It was pinole. Pinole is like a ancient grain. You can do it with corn or wheat, and it has like cocoa and cinnamon and different things in it, like ancient grains too. And it's kind of like a Native American horchata. So I used to make ice cream with that, and I'm thinking about bringing that back because it's really good.
Ooh, I need that in my life. I'm so excited for when you guys open back up. For you guys that are all here watching it, I live like 7 minutes away from Cotton and Copper. I was there prior to seeing you guys, and Chef can attest to that. Like I saw you guys once a week.
We missed you too.
Now I'm gonna cry.
We'll be back. It's kind of like, you know, a decision you make. We're trying to stay safe and we're trying to keep our employees safe. And I mean, I know we need to serve the community. We're just waiting for the appropriate way to do it without, you know, creating an environment where it's not okay.
So,
It's so weird. Like nobody knows. We don't know what the answer is, but we care about you. We want to keep you safe.
which is that's and you and several other chefs have chosen to do that. Silvana chose to do that. Obviously, Danielle and Dwayne over at the Breadfruit chose to just shut down, keep that the way they were doing it. I commend you guys for running through this thing. We also have some questions from Andreas. Is do you follow any based channels on YouTube? And if so, who do you like?
Oh,
Bobby,
I don't.
Second, Brett, Adam.
I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube. I don't know. Like if I'm watching anything at all, it's music. Like if I get on YouTube, it's all music stuff.
And I can attest to the fact that Chef is a great DJ, because yesterday when we were out distributing bags, Bobby, if you can hear me and find the photos, please send it to me. Chef was picking the jam. Chef was picking the jams. As a matter of fact, Brett Berry, you would have been very. So what was the name?
Yeah, what was the plan?
Listening to, Chef?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was like, probably a lot of hip hop, but I really love, like, we have some really good West Coast and Arizona hip hop. So I was playing a lot of that. One of my favorite hip hop artists on the planet is Mestizo.
That's the one.
He started here in Phoenix. He's moved to LA and now he's in Philadelphia. But it's just, I don't know. It's got that feel, like a lot of Tucson grit in it too, and it's just really good.
Tucson grit. You're gonna make the U of A boys.
It's super gangster. It's so good.
To be fair, Tucson grit is somewhat redundant.
Oh, I don't know.
At least you admit it. Brett, a U of A guy. Adam is a U of A guy. They're excited that you even said the word Tucson. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, Tucson and hip hop is a huge deal. There's so much good music that came out of there. And I don't know. I've been listening to this for a long time and I love music a lot. And I guess I'm kind of old now because I don't know the newer stuff as much as I should.
Happens to the rest of us.
You were spinning jams. Bobby, I see the background there. Send me some photos if you have some of when we were actually doing the handout yesterday. Casey's Woodshed. No. If you have some of those, I couldn't pull them down, and they were mostly on your Instagram. So if you've got them, I want to put them up here as well. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this comment from Andreas. He said, "Spinning pies and vinyl. I dig it." We could get Chef to spin vinyl. That would be.
Oh, you have no idea.
Oh my God. That should be a recurring theme, like spinning vinyl and pies, like a month episode.
Do you actually have vinyl at home? Like, do you?
This is a crazy question because I used to collect a lot of vinyl, mostly like grindcore and crusty punk stuff. And I used to have a really good collection. And I don't know, I had some ups and downs. I don't have any of it anymore, but I really appreciate vinyl because you take time to listen to music. It's not like playing Spotify and you just put on a tune. You actually have to take care of your music. It takes time to change your music. If you have a 7-inch, it's like only a few minutes listening to this music and then you have to change it. So I feel like it makes you appreciate the music a lot more. I remember spending $150 on a 7-inch vinyl from Japan, and it was like this crazy Japanese punk rock band, and they were called like, it had something to do with this really muscular chicken. And I even remember what it was, but I was so proud of the music.
I just ordered, I just got the vinyl delivered. I don't know if you know the band Black Pumas from Austin, and I was spinning that the other day when I was working in the background.
What type of music?
Kind of a little more retro-y soul kind of vibe.
Okay, I like that. I do like more of that too. I like all kinds. I listen to, some days it's just piano. I just listen to piano, and then some days it's like gutter punk, and then other days it's just like jazz and then hip hop and then guttural gore grind.
Listen to the first 2 tracks of Black Pumas, and then
Okay.
you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Hey, real quick, I want to remind everyone, if you're watching, you can rewind this episode if you're watching on Facebook. I don't know if we'll let you right now. Also, you can start this whole thing over if you're just catching up. Trish is asking for the hashtag again. It's Beat the Boredom AZ. I'm posting it right now. We're not far from this pie being done, I'm guessing, right?
My pie is like 2 minutes out, and so I'm gonna run away and grab it and come show everybody if it's ready.
And then when you can answer this question from Ricky, who says, "Do you ever have pie nightmares?"
I hope not. I have food nightmares, and so if I'm stressing about something I have to do the next day, I'll have like crazy anxiety nightmares about cooking it, and I'll go through like a million scenarios in my dream. But I don't know if it's ever involved pie. Maybe. I hope not, because I really love it.
Food nightmares sound frightening.
Well, I've had the ones where you're on vacation and then you have to stop and cook like a million orders, and you can't.
Oh, I know. I hate those.
Oh yeah, do you have
that?
Yeah,
Lorenzo says he's 1 minute out from his pie being ready. You're probably a minute out. I'll let the boys chat for a bit. I'm going to bring Bobby in here and let you go get your pie.
Oh, mine's like going off right now, so here you go.
All right, so I'll pop you out. We'll pop you back in a moment. And hey, everybody, what's going on?
What's up?
Hey.
Hey.
By the way, none of our audience gets to see what goes on in the private chat and all of the great beer names that Chef is accidentally throwing out there, and I'm just logging them in our private chat.
Please do, because these days we're going to do the beer name episode. Brett, can you wipe off your webcam, because it looks like you've spent too much time on Zoom?
I think that's just my cam, man. I'm just going for the soap opera filtered thing, so I don't look old AF.
Solid filter.
Hey, Lorenzo, thanks for watching, brother. He's leaving. Lorenzo, our dear friend, is leaving to go grill a Frank steak.
He can't.
He can't leave. For those of you who are still with us an hour and a half in, if you just joined us, if you're in here late, you're watching this thing. Some people might actually be watching this thing towards the beginning. Thanks for being here. It's awesome that you're here. We are planning on doing this again next week with Chef Sam from the Brickyard, alongside, of course, my dear co-hosts and Bobby as well. So, Bobby, what do you got going on over there?
This is that oleo I was making. Sam's catching it, but yeah, it's coming along nicely. It smells really good.
I thought that was your pie, and it was basically like a remake of the movie American Pie.
I have a feeling Bobby gave up on pie. I think that's what happened.
It's baking. I put a bunch of sugar on my computer, so that was good.
Lorenzo, if I send you a link on Facebook right now, you can actually join us to show us your pie. So, I'll tell you what, Lorenzo, you can jump in here and show us
that pie.
I want to see. Let's see that pie for sure.
There's something about going on the internet and asking the audience to say the question, "Let's see that pie." That just
listen. We've reached
only if you make it that way, Brett.
We've reached a particular point in quarantine here where there have been. I'm sure people have sent some very questionable, suggestive messages to others. Let's see that pie is probably the least. So. Lorenzo, I sent you a link. And then Andreas, send us some pictures, man. We'll get you in here. Mallory, thank you. She tagged a photo on Instagram. Tamara, you are back with us. Hello. Hi. I want to see your pie.
Okay. I mean, I have it. It's not perfect, but it's like, I think it looks pretty delicious.
I'd eat that.
All the, like, you can see all the caramel bubbling out and stuff. It's great.
As I said, I can has pie.
Look, I'll try and beg Chef to let me pick it up, and I'll save you half, Brett. But you have to come here.
Oh, Jesus!
I'll leave it in the
driveway in Central Phoenix like Adam does.
But really, who can? I mean, it's hard.
So Lorenzo might join us. He's going to show us his pie, and I hope he gets to. Andreas says he's pulling his pie out right now.
Oh,
Mallory,
nice.
we'll try and find your photo. I would love to find it on Instagram. If you tagged us, it'll be super easy to find. Hopefully you use the hashtag. Bobby, if you want to go through that hashtag, Beat the Boredom AZ, and tell me if you find anything. You can even pull it up on your, are you on your laptop right now?
I am.
You can pull it up on your laptop and share your screen, and we can just see them as they roll in. So give that a shot. So since we're on the topic of jokes earlier, hot single pies in your area. Yes. Thank you, Ricky.
I can't wait to see everybody's pie.
Save that stuff for adultpiefinder.com.
Adultpiefinder.com. Lorenzo, you gotta give your. Hold on, here we go. All right, guys, I'm gonna pop you out for 1 second and just keep Chef and I in here. I'll keep Bobby as well, unless his phone keeps ringing.
That's Brett.
So that is Brett. Adam. Whoa, a whole lot of me. And there's the pie. Lorenzo, can you hear us?
Oh, dang. Look at that. That's beautiful.
Hey, that looks pretty good, brother.
That does. It looks like it needs a big old scoop of ice cream on it.
Yeah.
Hey, Lorenzo, what are you drinking with that pie?
Old Forester 1920.
There you go.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, man. I can't wait to see some of these. Kelly just logged in. Thank you for logging in.
We made apple
Thanks,
pie.
guys.
So super
Gotta go cook a
traditional.
flank steak.
See you, Lorenzo. Thank you. That was awesome. I'm really excited to see more. I'm really excited to see more single pies in my area. Did you find some photos?
Yeah.
So far,
When did
let's see. Stand by.
when did the show become piehub.com?
Oh my God, is that an actual comment?
I wish it was. Caitlin says, I have no idea what I'm doing because I joined so late and don't have the recipe and can't rewind. I'm sorry in advance. It's okay, Caitlin. I believe in you. I think your pie will be just fine. And
You can rewind on YouTube, right? Like, don't we have the ability on YouTube?
It's there. You should be able to rewind. I have it enabled.
The key thing was 2 more tablespoons of butter through the vent at the end.
Yeah, because I messed that up because I do that.
Bobby, you sent me lots of cool pictures, so I'm just going to pull up some of my favorites here and show them to everybody. But we've got a couple photos we'll share with you guys from yesterday. I'm waiting to see some photos from today. You said you didn't find anything in the Instagram?
There's one guy, and I got it pulled up for you right here.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah.
That was Mallory. Yeah. She said she posted it. So first attempt.
Oh, that looks so awesome.
Yeah. So I love
That
it.
looks That looks like a pie made by Zorro.
Dang, that's so
Is that
cool.
a Z or an N?
It looks like a Z. I'm going to go with a Z.
Obviously a Z.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely Z.
It's
Sweet.
Zorro.
Oh, that looks so cool.
Send us your pie pics, guys. Can't wait to see them. There's a great photo here I'm going to pull up of Chef yesterday. Thank you, Bobby, for sending this over. And this
I don't
one
even know what it is, so should I be embarrassed in advance?
No, but we were playing the evil apple pie situation.
Oh, that's right.
The Wicked Witch of the East Valley.
I was like, eat my apples.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to do that.
I'm going to put this up on the screen for everybody so they know. It's hashtag Beat the Boredom AZ. Tag that, please, for your photos. And don't forget to tag Social Distance Drinking Club on Instagram and on Facebook. And, of course, Cotton and Copper and Chef Tamara as well. And Bobby Kramer and the USBG, who helped sponsor those 50 bags for people to eat these pies this week. Bobby, I see you punching through pie photos, but I don't think those are ours. Those might be some professional pies.
No, those are ours. Those are absolutely ours.
Stop. Are you kidding? We've already got more pie photos?
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right.
Hot single pies.
Yeah, and this is all Tracy right here.
That's
That
the
sounds
good
like
stuff.
so great. Oh my gosh.
This is amazing, Chef. This is what you were able to do, socially distant, in the comfort of your own personal space. People were able to follow along and make a pie with you, and that is, for me, that's what this was all about when we started doing this. And I'm
Well, it's meaningful to me because I know it's just a pie, and it's a simple pie too. Like I didn't want to do some crazy thing where people couldn't actually get the ingredients. I mean, everybody has access to apples. So I'm going to do something really simple, and it's just something so comforting of pie. You can eat all this other food, but like right now we need comfort. We need something that's familiar. We need something that causes a little bit of joy in this crazy, like, I don't know, this crazy trying time we have. And I feel like pie is important, and I've gotten a lot of good responses about it. So starting simple, you can use the same recipe and you can sub it out with any fruit. You can do anything different. That pie crust I use a lot. So that pie crust recipe, you can use it across the board with lots of different stuff too. So, I mean, it's a good start for everything. And I don't know. I wish everybody well, like stay well through this and be smart. And I want to see you on the other side. Like I want to get reopened and serve you some of my crazy pies. And plus all the other stuff. We have a lot of other good stuff too. So like, I just can't wait to get back to some kind of normal. In the
meantime, this is freaking awesome. You guys are awesome. Chef, we won't take up too much more of your time. Hashtag Beat the Boredom AZ, Social Distance Drinking Club. We're on week 3 of this crazy idea. And thanks to Bobby, we've expanded on this idea. And thanks to Chef, we were able to launch this thing quickly. Thank you so much, Chef. You have been incredible.
So welcome.
Before we go, a toast, but also our dear friend Caitlin said, I feel like this is a technical challenge in the Great British Bake Off where I have all the ingredients and no idea how to bake. Caitlin, I can't wait for that pie. Guys, I poured myself a shot, so cheers to you.
What is the shot? Cheers.
It might be some Jack Daniels. I just happen to have it. Okay. You got something there? You got something there, Bobby? Oh, yeah. He's going to grab like a pint glass.
Templeton Rye.
Nice.
Perfect.
Guys,
I like Adam's instructions. Those are cute.
Cheers to you, and thank you guys for watching. For you guys here, by the way, hang tight. Once I end the broadcast, we can all chat for a little bit. Salud to everyone for joining us. Thank you. This has been another episode of Social Distance Drinking Club. This time, the special episode, Beat the Boredom, episode 1, Easy as Pie, with our dear friend, Chef Tamara Stanger. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.